So what happened to Scott Adams? Why did this Dilbert cartoon get pulled out of a lot of newspapers, almost 300? What caused that, and what does this all mean? I'm gonna break that down in this video. Welcome back to the channel, Johnson. In this video, we're gonna talk about what happened with Scott Adams, why it's so problematic. We're gonna also address the RASMUSSEN poll that he was using in his rant, and we're gonna use a couple clips from him as well. So let's get into that. Scott Adams is a cartoonist, a writer, and an author who does a popular cartoon called Dilbert. You may have seen it, it's about office politics. So, what did Scott Adams say that got his comic strip removed from like 300 newspapers?
Well, RASMUSSEN poll had a provocative little poll today. They said, do you agree or disagree with the statement, it's okay to be white? That was an actual question. RASMUSSEN asked, white and black voters, and probably others, do you disagree or agree with the statement, it's okay to be white? 26% of blacks said no. It's not okay to be white. 21% weren't sure. Add them together, that is 47% of black respondents were not willing to say it's okay to be white. That's like a real poll. This just happened. Did you have any idea? Would you have imagined that could have happened? So I realized, as you know, I've been identifying as black for a while, years now, because I like to be on the winning team, and I like to help. And I always thought, well, if you help the black community, that's sort of the biggest lever. You can find the biggest benefit. So I thought, well, that's the hardest thing and the biggest benefit. So I'd like to focus a lot of my life resources in helping black Americans. So much so that I started identifying as black to just be on the team I was helping. But it turns out that nearly half of that team doesn't think I'm okay to be white, which is, of course, why I identified as black, so I could be on the winning team for a while. But I have to say, this is the first political poll that ever changed my activities. I don't know that that's ever happened before. Normally you see a poll, you just look at it and you go, whatever. Oh, this is interesting what other people think. But as of today, I'm going to re-identify as white because I don't want to be a member of a hate group. I'd accidentally joined a hate group. So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away. Wherever you have to go.
Scott says a lot more stuff, very offensive. He blames black people for their own problems, says we don't value education, which is a damn lie. And he says a lot of other stuff, but we'll just about close it up here. You gotta let him in with this zinger.
And I'm also really sick of seeing video after video of black Americans beating up non-black citizens. I realize it's anecdotal, and it doesn't give me a full picture of what's happening. But every damn day I look on social media and there's some black person beating the shit out of some white person. I'm kind of over it.
Way to go there, Scott. Let's get into it. Scott Adams got canceled, and he deserved it. I'm not saying I'm calling for him to get canceled, but if you throw a whole group of people, a whole race of people under the bus, you deserve what you get. There was no nuance in that conversation. He said black people are a hate group, which is totally illogical because black people are not a part of an organization. We're a race. So to say that a race of people are haters or advocate hate or a hate organization is in itself racist. The only people defending Scott Adams are Scott Adams and a bunch of white nationalists. If you go look online, you'll see a bunch of white nationalists coming out of the woodwork like roaches, all championing for this guy. That's your first indication that you kind of screwed up. But instead of apologizing, clearing the record, and saying, hey, I was on something, I had Adderall, something, I was drinking. This guy goes on a podcast with this guy, Hotep Jesus, and basically just tries to soft pedal it like he was joking. Nah, we heard what you said. We heard exactly what you said, bruh. To quote Chris Rock, if white people are losing, who's winning? Not us. It damn sure ain't us. So that's like the thing. Like these guys, they love to act vulnerable and attacked. That's their thing. They want to play victim. Meanwhile, all they do is walk around and create victims. Scott Adams also goes on in this video to claim that he's been so helpful to the black community. Yeah, I was helping blacks and I was hiring blacks and I'm not going to do that anymore because it doesn't help. Yeah, let me put it to you this way, Scott. If your idea of helping black people was lumping all black people together and throwing them all under the bus while you pander to white nationalists to help your broadcast get bigger, your little podcast, we don't need that, bro. We don't need it. Scott, you can move anywhere you want to move. Move as far away from black people as you want to. You white. That's what white people been doing. Where this guy been? White people been running away from black people since black people got free. So anyway, one of the biggest problems we have are lying-ass, fake intellectual, these Jordan Peterson, Scott Adams types, these Stephon Molyneux. These are people that you don't need to know, Black America. You don't need to know them. These people are the enlightened conservatives. Yeah, they're enlightened. And they come down and talk in nice ways and make very racist comments about black people. But they do it in such a nice way, and they're just having conversations. They're just sharing their thoughts, which is white people talk for throwing black people under the bus and doing soft pedaling hate speech. Yeah, it's no different. It's no different than what they did in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 20s. Hell, since we've been here. Scott Adams. No one's been watching your cartoons. We don't care for them. Some fat guy with a bad haircut, a bad buzz cut, wearing khakis. Not exactly part of our culture. Even white people know this. White people. Isn't it like the whitest thing in the world for a white guy to show up and go, I don't want to talk to blacks anymore. I said I'm done with them. Ain't that like some white stuff? That's the most current shit I've seen in a long time. Guy shows up to work to tell you he ain't gonna show up to work no more, and he don't have to give us a notice. You don't work for us. We don't employ you. We didn't hire you. We can't fire you. You get fired by white people. Not because you spoke truth either, because you're a jackass. That's why you got fired. Scott said the reason why he went on this rant, or the reason why he made this statement in this video, was because of a poll by Rasmussen. It's important for us to first of all address who is Rasmussen. Rasmussen is a polling company that is very much to the right and is funded by right-wing and various right-wing causes and political action groups. That's what Rasmussen is, okay? And they're part of this whole culture war that's the argument about critical race theory. In the article, the argument, can black people be racist? Like, they're part of this whole thing, this back and forth that we see online. They make similar polls trying to push the narrative that white people are offended or white people are impacted with racism as much as black people in America, which is crazy that people do actually believe that. They believe that they are the target of discrimination as much as black people, if not more. So on the face, historically, it sounds crazy, but this is what they're saying. Okay, so let's look at one of the polls that he used. This one, he says, the one that got all the attention is Black Americans only. It's okay to be white. 53% agree, 26 disagree, 21 are not sure. Okay, it's okay to be white. Okay, and then the poll, he also asked, apparently they asked 1,000 people in this Rasmussen poll. I don't know how many of those black people that they asked, or of the 1,000 that they asked. I don't know who they were. We don't get that information. But they asked 1,000 people a bunch of questions, and of that 1,000 people, of the black people that they asked, they're saying that 53% agree that it's okay to be white, 26 disagree, 21 said not sure. And from that, Scott Adams goes on this rant. It's very important to look at the way that this was worded. And Scott Adams should know this, being as he espouses how, intellectually advanced he is. He's a big thinker and all this stuff. But he didn't look at the way that this was worded and say, hey, this is kind of misleading. Okay, so the term, we're not going to go into the term itself. It's been used on 4chan and other websites by right-wing folks trying to cause back and forth drama with liberals, like trying to own the libs. It's okay to be white. It's okay to be white. It's like a retaliation to like Black Lives Matter. Okay, so we're going to leave that out. We're going to just say, even though it's possible that some of the people that saw this poll saw that, recognize the question as being one of those questions that you would see on these websites by right-wing people that are being a little less than genuine, okay? That are trying to spark drama, that are trying to start to be sneaky and make an argument that they don't want to take part in. So they could say, I don't agree with the statement, okay? That could also mean they don't agree with the way you're framing it, okay? They could say that. It's also important to note, it's the difference to say, do you agree with this statement, it's okay to be white? It's different from saying, do you like white people? Or do you think white people should be white people? Like, these are different things. It's sort of like saying, if you put a poll and say, do you believe that all lives matter? Do you agree with the statement, all lives matter? Somebody could dislike the statement. They could dislike the terminology. Doesn't mean they don't think that all people matter. Doesn't mean that all people should live. It's just that they don't like the statement. They don't like the term, which is different. And Scott Adams should understand that. And a lot of people that have been in my comment section should be able to understand that, which is all Scott Adams did was infuriate and rile up a bunch of white nationalists and bigots and some people that are probably very nice people but very ignorant or very misguided people. There's those people too. And people that are confused, who don't have time to look up stuff. There's also that people too. But to not include that in your rant is very much dangerous. And it caused, I personally, I have experienced lots and lots of, apparently it looks like a bunch of pissed off white people defending Scott Adams and saying, yeah, he's right about black people. Black people don't like white, but black people are racist to white people. So what do you say that was wrong? What do you say that was wrong? The poll said. But I do want to say for the record, everyone should be what they are. Like, if there has to be some level of people that are like, there should be no white people. Those people are psychos, okay? That's just crazy talk. Like, you are what you are, and you should be who you are. So it's okay to be white. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's okay to be whatever you are. Of course it's okay. That's a stupid question. Is it okay to be, Hindu? Is it okay to be Jewish? Is it okay to be short, tall? Is it okay to, you have a choice. So of course it's okay. It's very much okay to be who you are. This is stupid. And to say that out of this 1,000, I read that there are actually 136 of the 1,000 people, 136 of them were black. There will be an 8% margin of error in the polling data that should be also factored in. And when you only got 100 people, 136 people that you ask the question to, yeah, well, you don't got a lot of wiggle room. It's not a big enough, broad enough amount of people. All right, so he also this Rasmussen report, man, very suspect. Very suspect. You should be looking at them with a side eye all day following Rasmussen polls, especially when you see the way it's going, the direction it's going, the way that they're skewing things, the types of polls they're running, and why are they running them. And so that's always got to be accounted for when you look into polls. You should never put too much stock into a poll. Scott Adams should know that. His followers should know that. Elon Musk should know that, instead of just saying the media is racist. Yes, it is. But mainly against black people. That's why the only time you really hear about black people is when we're getting killed or when we're killing someone. That's pretty much it. Or when we're scoring buckets into basketball. That's about it. But yeah, the media plays games all day. It's what it does. Also that poll, also some of the other polls they asked that were, some other polls that were being used. I'm gonna put a couple more on the screen. Do you agree or disagree with the statement black people can be racist? That's really what this Rasmussen polling in this particular day was about. It included these types of questions. Why would you ask this? What are you trying to get to? What is Rasmussen trying to, what's the outcome they're looking for? What are they trying to garner from this? What statement are they trying to make? What narrative are they fulfilling? Are black people racist? Can black people be racist? And some people say yes, some people say no. Some people strongly agree, some would agree. And then it looks down here, we have it by race. 53% of all people say yes. Or strongly agree. Some would agree. So 57% of white people say yes. They strongly agree. And 42% of black people agree, okay? That black people can be racist. But here's the thing about it, and I want people to understand this. This is my vantage point on this, because these are opinions. If you don't have any power to impact my life, then your personal, your personal prejudices or bigotry don't necessarily matter to me. Part of the problem, part of what media does, is it expands on individuals, right? And they make the individual bad person or racist person or bigoted person, they make them the focus, when that should not be the focus. The focus should be institutions that deny us loans. The focus should be the institutions that deny us loans, that give us higher interest rates, even when we have the same credit. The companies, the white-owned companies don't hire us. See, if you're a black person, you don't like white people, what can you do to white people? What can you actually do to limit their lives? And when I say white people, I mean the structure of whiteness. I don't mean every individual white person. If a white person doesn't want to watch BET, so what? It's owned by white people. But if you don't want to watch it, so what? Who cares what your personal That's a personal preference. Fine. But when you get on social media and you start going after black people, that's different. That's when it becomes a problem. But basically, no one cares what your personal, that you care, and the people that you affect. That matters. But overall, for instance, over 93% of all venture capital loans are given to white men. How I feel about white men does not change that stat, nor does it change the fact that over 93% of all venture capital investments go to white guys. The other 7% or so goes to everyone else. But you want me to believe that white guys are so impacted by race. Black people own less than 2% of wealth in this country. How can we fundamentally impact white people and stop them from making money when we only own less than 2% of the wealth and less than 2% of the land? This is the reality. So how can Scott Adams make any sense? It's really easy for white people not to live around black people because we don't own enough homes. I believe that there are racist black people, but they're racist against black people because they can be absorbed into white institutions such as police forces and inflict pain on black people and be a part of the systematic oppression of black people. They can be welcomed into racist white institutions and a part of the racist white media, for instance, and call themselves conservative and say racist shit about black people all day, and add to the racism that exists within those institutions. And media lies, yeah, they lie, but they lie the other way. They lie, they say they have Shark Tank, and it makes it look like every fourth or fifth person getting a loan or getting money or investment capital from the Shark Tanks is black, when that's not true. I just told you, less than 7% is for everybody else. So all those women you see on Shark Tank getting loans, lie. All those Asians and blacks, lie. All those Latinos, lie. Over 93% of those venture capital investments go to white guys. So that's what I'm talking about, the lies about the media. And you can't convince me that a country that is that skewed, that is that biased, has a bunch of black people running around denying white people anything. Except TikTok videos, except TikTok dance moves. That's about it. That's all. That's what we have. So Scott Adams is a moron for a lot of reasons. One of them is for citing this poll that can be taken many ways. I don't like all lives matter, the statement, but I do believe that every person's value, all people have value. And I think all people's lives should matter. But I don't like the statement all lives matter, because we already know that white people lives matter. It's black people. White people were never lynched, not lynched by black mobs. Black people didn't bomb cities and flood towns, white towns and white cities. That's what white people did. But see, white people don't want to, they're so angry about their history that they want to get rid of the history. You don't want us to know these things. And Scott Adams is playing into that. He's a part of that. And he knew that this would go viral. He figured on it. He'd been hinting that he wanted to get canceled, that he would, well, I'm going to get canceled. Like when he put the black, after 36 years, he puts a black character in his comic strip. After 36 years, he tries to say, well, I know I'm going to get canceled now. That's Scott Adams poking the bear, because it's fun to them. It's fun to Elon Musk. It's fun to Kanye West. And it's fun to Scott Adams. And it's fun to Candace Owens. It's fun to them to rile up, use race, Steven Crowder, all of them, use race in order to go viral. This is what they do. Okay? This is what they do. They gaslight. This is what Scott Adams is doing. This is what this polling is doing. So no, I don't believe that all lives matter is a good statement, but I believe that all lives matter. Get it? That's the difference. So in that poll, you can say, well, he doesn't think that everybody should live. He doesn't believe that people should be alive. See, so that's what Scott Adams is doing. So I hope I'm making that clear. I hope people understand where I'm coming from. And that's why this is a problem. And that's why I can't stand it when people get to be morons like this and run around and spew nonsense and then play victim. And throw rocks and hide their hand is the game plan of these conservatives. Meanwhile, they're running around and they're latching themselves on. They're saying negative shit about black people every day, constant negativity. And our media is also to blame. Media is to blame because media lies. But that's why I never really liked the current videos. I know they're very lucrative. You get a lot of views. A lot of entities get a lot of views off the current videos. But that's why I never liked them, because it was focusing on the wrong type of problem. I'm wrong. And yes, we tired of Karens calling cops on black people. But you know what? I'm more upset about the cops that come who beat up the black people. Or I'm more upset about the prison system and the parole system and the juries that if a black person does the same crime as a white person, they get a black guy more time. That's more of a problem, but no one's going to watch that video, are they? No, they want to watch the drama unfold, the scripted play out of the white lady saying the mean thing and doing the mean thing, and now this has gone viral, and there's something to talk about. It's going to get wins, because it's going to be somebody on the who's able to make fun of this and mock it. We create memes, and it goes all over the internet. But it solves nothing. And that's the type of stuff that the internet likes. And it's what news entities like. Cable news likes. It's what the websites like. But how effective is it? So it's always, we're doing an injustice when we focus on the individual. That's why we need to focus on institutional racism, not individual racism. Individual racism. is the problem here. And that's what Scott Adams is focused on. That's what this poll focuses on, and it tries to make it a big deal. If you can't stop, black people can't stop white people from moving in anywhere. From settling up shop anywhere. You're not limited because black people do not have the power institutionally to limit your life, to decide where your children go to school at, to not provide you with health care. Do you realize all the inequities in our society? For this guy to be sitting up here talking as if it's all evil, it's equal, and black people are the culprits of how bad things are towards white people. Come on, man. Come on, man. What was it? W.E.B. Du Bois was an amazing sociologist, and one of the greatest orators of his time, and very influential, W.E.B. Du Bois. And when he was 91, he went to China. He gave a speech, and he says, he's 91 years old. He's done all these things, but at the end of the day, to the better part, almost been alive for a century, he's always been just a nigga to the white people in America. He's just a nigga, another nigga. Malcolm X also made a famous statement like this. He's like, yo, what do you call a black man with a PhD? What do white Americans call a black man with a PhD? A nigga with a PhD. Get it? So there is no equivalent to that for white people. There's no equivalent to when you see a black person and someone says, that nigga, what's this N-word up to? What's this N-word about to do? White people don't have that problem. So even if black people do look at you, and there's not even a word for black people, for white people, that's just detrimental, because there's no history attached to it. Even the term cracker comes from someone who was in power, who was beating slaves. So, what we have is a bunch of white folks who don't like the term, don't like being called racist, who feel a certain kind of way about it, who now want to try to equate things that aren't the same. Black Lives Matter is not the same as the KKK, because Black Lives Matter did not drag white people out of their homes and lynch them. You may not like Black Lives Matter, but those two things are not the same. Black Lives Matter was not burning crosses on lawns and keeping kids from going to schools and hanging and lynching white people. No, it's not the same thing. And nor does Black Lives Matter instill terror in white people. Maybe dislike, for some white people dislike it, and some black people do too. But it's not the same thing. It's not, you're not looking out the window shaking, wondering, because someone's banging on your door and they got on George Floyd t-shirts. So just cut the nonsense. Stop pretending. Just admit America has a bad history, a hateful, not just bad, a hateful, destructive, oppressive history against black people. Just admit it. And that's just the way it is. Okay? And we should be working going forward to alleviate that. Not ignore it, not be quiet about it. Because to this day, black women are still 3 times more likely to die giving childbirth. 3 times more likely than white women. To this day. And I got you talking about, well, he said on the poll that the black people said it wasn't okay to be. Apparently it's great to be white, because you're 3 times more likely for your mother to still be alive than a black child. Get it? Get it? All right. What people think is not as important as what they could do to you, what they could deny you access to, what they could do to your children. Yeah, when black people start having, when black men and black women start getting 93% of venture capital investment, then we could talk. When black people own more than 2% of the land in this country and the wealth in this country that we built for free, against our will, maybe then we could talk about who's running shit. But until then, you got media companies getting paid off our trauma and our pain. It's not benefiting us. But and for the record, Black Lives Matter wasn't the only organization that made a lot of money off George Floyd's death. The Democratic Party did too, and so did all the cable news networks that ran the coverage ad nauseum, till the wheels fell off, till the rubber was off the tires. So let's keep it a buck, all right? And no, I'm not a part of the organization. Just want to point that out, because I'm tired of people having just one like fixation. Scott Adams is a moron because of what he did. And it hurts what he did hurts black people. And people say, oh, but he was just joking. He was just playing devil's advocate. Why is it that white guys get to always play devil's advocate? White privilege. They always get to play devil's advocate. They get to say the most egregious shit in the world. The most intolerant bullshit they get to say and rile up a bunch of haters and hateful people like Dylan Roof types and potential Dylan Roof types. Right? All out of joking. Well, it's not funny. Dilbert. And I know he's rich and he doesn't care if he gets canceled. Well, good. You're canceled. Asshole. All right, I'm Tim Black. Subscribe to this channel. I'll see you on the next one. Become a member of the Tim Black Wolfpack. Go to jointimblack.com.